Good afternoon. This is Mrs. Kantz. I'm coming to you with the review for the Mid-Unit 3 test. Since we may not get through this all in class, I want to make sure that you guys are able to get all of the answers for your review sheet so that you can study the correct answers. So starting off, our goal for this test is always to be able to score 70% or above. So using this review sheet to study will help you in answering some of those questions. Remember, when you are working on this test, it is a test, so you need to study. You need to make sure that you know the material. And when it comes to short answer questions, you're answering your questions using your own words. So taking my answers that I give you on this sheet, these are your own notes. I don't care if you steal my stuff, but these are your own notes. You need to make sure that you take this stuff and put it into your own words, though. So on the test, I will make sure that you need to have your own words in the short answer questions. There are 3 short answer questions. So here's the first question on your review sheet. It says, where do cells come from? If you see down here, all cells arise from existing cells. That is the correct answer. So that is part of cell theory. All cells are going to arise from existing cells. This is not on your review sheet, but I want you to think about this question. How are skin cells and muscle cells the same? And how are they different? Similar shape, not similar shape, but similar organelles within them. So they're all going to have a nucleus. They're all going to have similar organelles. However, they're going to be different shapes and they're also going to have different functions. So the skin cell is not going to do the same thing as your muscle cells do. Order the following from lowest to highest in level of cellular organization. The words are organ, tissue, cell, organ system, and organism. Which is lowest, which is highest? Here are the answers. At any time, if I'm going too quickly, please pause this video and you can write down your answers. Complete the following table. The first row is done as an example. So difference between eukaryotes and prokaryotes, the type of cell. Eukaryotes have a cell membrane. Prokaryotes don't. Do eukaryotes and prokaryotes have a nucleus? Where is the DNA located? Some species have a capsule or have phospholipid bilayer cell membrane. Here are the answers. Here's another question that is not on your review sheet, but you should still know the information. Are cell membranes rigid? Yes or no? And why do you think so? The correct answer would be no, they are not rigid. And the reasoning would be they need to be fluid and flexible so that things can move in and out of the cell. That fluidity and that flexibility is going to allow molecules to be able to move in and outside the cell. Another question not on your review sheet, but still needs to be talked about. What would happen if the lysosomes in a cell stopped working? So the lysosomes are one of the organelles that is used in processing and getting rid of waste. So if the lysosomes stopped working, our cells would be trashed. They would not have be able to get rid of the materials that they need to get rid of. Where do most Metabolic activities occur in the cell within the cytosol and the cytoplasm. Those two words, the cytosol or cytosol is that liquidy area, and the cytoplasm talks about that liquid and all the membranes that are connected together. So the metabolic activities happening in the cytosol and or the cytoplasm. If a cell produces and secretes high levels of digestive proteins, what organelles would you expect to find and why? So the ribosomes and the endoplasmic reticulum, or the ER, those are the two main ones that I would expect to be in this process because they are helping make proteins. Another one that I could potentially see is also the Golgi body, because the Golgi body is job is to package up and deliver things throughout the cell. So once ribosomes and ER do their job by making those proteins, the Golgi body goes to work and is able to package up and send out those proteins to where they need to be. What organelle in cells, sometimes known as the power plant, produces ATP through the cellular respiration? That would be the mitochondria. Mitochondria is found in the cell. This is the yellow thing, folded membrane. What is the benefit of the mitochondria having an inner membrane that has many folds? That inner membrane with lots of folds, it's going to increase the surface area to allow more ATP production. Describe the benefit of the cell membranes being a bilayer made of phospholipids. Both surfaces of the membrane can then interact with water and other molecules. That is the benefit of the membrane being a bilayer made of phospholipids. The cell membrane is selectively permeable. What major theme in biology does that relate to? Relates to structure relating to function. In this case, molecules are able to enter the cell, but not others. That selectively permeable membrane is going to keep some molecules out, but allow some in, or vice versa. Keep some things inside the cell, but be able to kick others out. Compare the types of transport in and out of the cell. This is question number 10. Identify how they are the same and different. Here are your answers. You can pause this video to write down those answers. Label each picture with the type of transport that is occurring. Also label the phospholipid bilayer and the intermembrane proteins. So let's start with the type of transport that is occurring. In this picture right here, we have diffusion. Down here, we have facilitated diffusion. And then over in this picture, we have active transport. Labeling the phospholipid bilayer. Right here is our phospholipid bilayer, or you could have labeled way over here as well. And then the intermembrane proteins. Here's one, here's the other, and then here's an intermembrane protein as well. Remember, diffusion, they can go straight through the membrane. Facilitated diffusion, they have to have that intermembrane protein. And then active transport also has to have the protein, and we also have to have ATP or energy. Which types of transport involve proteins in the cell membrane? We already answered this question. It is the facilitated diffusion and active transport. Osmosis is the movement of only what molecule? That water molecule is the right answer. Water is moving from a high concentration to a low concentration in a solution. Osmosis involves water molecules. Diffusion is other types of molecules. Many fish lose water in the environment because of which transport process? The correct answer is osmosis. They're losing water to the outside environment by osmosis. How are fish able to maintain homeostasis if they are losing water to the environment? So here's the answer. I don't know if you can see the full answer. However, seawater has sodium, chloride, and other ions. So that salt water has sodium, chloride, and ions. Fish are going to depend on active transport, that transport of energy or transport of molecules using an energy system to remove the ions from their body up the concentration gradient. So let me repeat that. Salt water or seawater has sodium, chloride, and other ions. That concentration of sodium, chloride, and ions, fish are going to have to use active transport to remove those ions from their body up the concentration gradient to release those ions. That is going to help them maintain homeostasis. Number 16, label the following diagram with the terms exocytosis and endocytosis. Define exo and endocytosis. Here are your answers. Explain how the nerve cell uses active transport to help maintain its resting potential. That's pumping sodium ions out of the cell and potassium ions into the cell. The cell can maintain the resting potential, or a negatively charged environment inside the cell and the positive charge outside the cell. So to be able to do that, they have to use active transport. And then the last question is label the following diagram with the terms found on the right side of the diagram. Here are your answers. Cell membrane is the top one, cytoplasm, then nucleus, vacuole, cell wall, chloroplast, and then the left side is the plant cell because it has a cell wall. And here is the cell, is the animal cell. It does not have a cell wall. Here are some more important parts of the cell that you should know. The cytosol, we talked about metabolic activity there. The nucleus, that is the control center. It's going to house the DNA. Endoplasmic reticulum, creating proteins. Mitochondria, part of the cellular respiration process, creating ATP. Ribosomes, they're also going to be creating proteins. Cell membrane, it's going to be allowing molecules to move inside the cell and outside the cell. Chloroplast, only found in plant cells. That is going to be used in the process of photosynthesis. And then the central vacuole, that is storing water within the plant cell. One that is not on here is lysosomes. We talked about this earlier in the video. Lysosomes are going to be a waste product system. So here's the lysosomes, these big blue things right here. They're going to be processing waste materials and getting rid of them in the cell. So explain the role of each of these organelles. Here is the answer. Again, lysosomes is not on here. However, you should still know this one. Lysosomes. Thank you for watching this video. If you have any questions, feel free to contact me through email. You guys should now be ready to study